Hello everyone, this is the Nameless One, and tonight we will be doing an Alicorn discusses MLP villains. Before we get started, I'd like to remind everybody that if you enjoy this and would like to see more of it, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, ring the notification bell, follow on Twitch for all of my gaming stuff. And other than that, we'll have more on how to support at the end. We're going to go ahead and start with the introductions. And we'll start with the pants in the corner there.
Igneous?
You're the only one wearing pants, and
Get muted.
Great start.
Okay, that's one unmuted.
Does he know he's muted?
Oh no.
He didn't sound like he was getting up to go anywhere.
Oh my god, you people. Oh, you kept waiting? Okay, so sorry. I went down to throw I went to throw away some trash and I was just like, "Oh, this will be fine. Nameless isn't going to start as soon as I leave my computer." And then it's like, "Okay, well, maybe Nameless won't start with me because I'm muted, obviously."
I don't think you told us the music was going. So.
Yeah. Anyway. So yeah, here I am. My name is Ignis. I'm a game dev. I worked on Horse Game and what was the other one? The Fallout one. That's 3D and wants to be Fallout the game. I worked on those two games. I work on a personal comic called Hover, and I've been in this fandom since about 2011. That is who I am. Also, I'm an artist. I draw things, if that wasn't clear already. And that is me, Pants Man, Ignis. Yes.
Okay. Who's your favorite villain? We're gonna do that.
Who's my favorite villain?
Yeah.
Celestia.
We'll have to get to that one.
But if you want a more conventional answer, then I choose the cherry guy from that one Fluttershy episode.
Oh yeah, that one.
I know who you're talking about, but that one was not exactly what I was expecting. Anyways, Procelion, the other butt.
Hello, I'm Procelion. On pony websites, I'm known as Lightning Stripe. I am primarily an artist and a game dev. And I also do a bit of writing and music composition on the side. Favorite villain. I was preparing for this, and I have forgotten all of the villains apart from a couple because there are just so many. I'm gonna do something a bit weird, and I'm gonna say the Umbrum from the comics. Because I think they're really interesting. I think they're a really good concept, and they were, I think, wasted a little bit because they've got potential.
What were the Umbrum again?
They were the weird.
They were the sort of skeletal ghost horses that were trapped into the Crystal Empire. They had a whole arc. That was the Shadows arc.
Yeah, I love them.
Oh,
because they look kind of normal in the dark, but if they appear in the light, they're like these really creepy skeleton-looking ponies.
Yeah. And I think a lot of things could have been done with them that weren't. And actually, one of the pictures that I saw going through the slideshow, that is the red pony with the armor. That is actually an Umbrum character that I made because I was absolutely obsessed with them for a time. So yeah, that's what I'm gonna say.
Ooh,
Ice is also
that one is
obsessed with
just
them.
gone through.
Oh yeah, I see it. It's on the screen now. Well, from my delayed live stream.
Okay. Nez, your turn.
Okay. Hello. I am here. I do horse things sometimes, and
Who are you?
I am
They are here.
I show up and streams here sometimes, and I'm an aspiring writer, and my favorite as the icebreaker, my favorite villain is Chrysalis. I was really the whole reason that I started looking at Brony stuff was because the season 6 finale teased her, and I'm like, oh gosh, I gotta know what happens next season. Like, what'd she do next? And then she didn't show up, and then she was sad, and I was upset.
KO.
You caught me with food in my mouth. Sorry. All right.
Catching people with their pants down all the way around here.
Woohoo! All right. So my name is KO.
That's the trick.
I-
Don't wear pants.
My
But
character
I-
very much is wearing pants, by the way, and they are not down.
But I primarily do music stuff on YouTube, usually nerdcore related. I sing. I sometimes make an original song when I feel like it. And in terms of Brony stuff, I got into this fandom around somewhere between season 3 or 4. So like somewhere around 2013, 2014. And in terms of my favorite villain, design-wise, I would go Sombra. But personality-wise, I would say Discord, because I don't like the way they portrayed him in the ending.
Okay. And Nashi.
Hello, I'm Nashi. I both stream and make art. I think my favorite villain is definitely Chrysalis. I absolutely love just how unapologetically evil they made her. She's like the one villain who has offered redemption and literally slapped it away. But then in the later seasons, I just love how much of a ham she became when she started to lose it a little bit. As for least favorite villain,
Oh yeah, we didn't do that.
Did he ask us least favorite?
No.
Okay.
But go on
Just
anyway.
making sure I'm not missing anything.
I actually can't really pick a least favorite. I can't say any of them were bad. If I had to pick, probably I always have trouble remembering his name. The dude who turned into the Pony of Shadows.
Stygian.
Stygian?
Stygian.
Yeah.
Stygian.
Not because I dislike him, but he's just the one I like the least because I felt they could have developed him more.
Okay. And of course, you guys should know me by now. If not, welcome to the channel. Don't forget to subscribe, maybe leave a like and comment. I am the Nameless One. So for me, I do writing, of course, the YouTube stuff that you see, Twitch streaming, all kinds of other things that a lot of people that aren't creators don't see. But other than that, as far as favorite villains, I'm actually going to go with not Stygian, but the Pony of Shadows itself. Because I see those, they're very obviously two separate entities. And there is so much story potential that got wasted by the show, but it is also very much one of those things that if they were to actually be able to expand on the implied lore within that, it would be so much better of a character. But they did the equestrian thing of walking away for another 1,000 years. So
Depending on when they lock all these things up, someone's gonna have a lot of trouble in the next 1,000 years.
Yeah, he'll
This one period
show
of
up.
time where it
He'll
all
show up in
comes crashing
G5. You wait.
down. Let's freaking go.
we're just gonna have a new league of villains. So I
Are
think
we
that
are we also doing least?
Someone said least, so I went with least too.
I don't remember who said least, but
I mean, I mentioned that I didn't, like what they did with Sombra's personality in like the last season, but I still said he was like my favorite in terms of like design.
Oh, whoopsies! I must have misheard.
No, you're good.
so I think what we're gonna start out with is probably let's start talking like reformed villains and move on to one of the things that I actually personally love about what the show did with villains, and that is some of them are irredeemable as far as the show was concerned. You know, Cozy Glow never became a good guy.
They killed a child.
Um,
They froze a child. It's different.
well, we
I
don't.
say killed just because it's funnier.
It kind of depends on how their petrification works, because
Apparently, according to Discord, they're sentient the entire time, or
yeah.
cognizant. I mean,
So
Oh,
worse
that's
than
great,
death.
thank you.
Awesome.
that sounds
yes.
Wow.
that sounds like something straight out of Warhammer 40k. Holy shit!
Yeah, and they applied that to a child.
Good.
For the crime of weaponizing friendship, you will be frozen in time for the foreseeable future.
I don't
Well,
know why this suddenly came to mind, but now I'm just imagining that for whatever reason, the freezing of all of these villains was like live streamed to like a group of ponies like in Ponyville, and I've just imagined the entire chat saying deserved, deserved, deserved when it happens. Like to the child.
I mean,
That's called television.
technically,
Yeah.
the whole of Ponyville was there, actively doing the petrification. So
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah, they didn't need to watch it. They were there.
yeah, they were doing it.
Literally, the entirety of Equestria was there.
Child exists. Equestria. We don't do that here.
So
I took this personally.
I think
what I will say
Yeah.
about I disagree with you, Nameless, about they've made some irredeemable a little bit. I do see there's a lot of value to it in a show about friendship, because if you look at those, was it 3 villains that were considered irredeemable? They're irredeemable because they're like asocial in some weird way. Cozy Glow is like a Karen. And Chrysalis is like a weird neat who can't talk to people. And what was the last one? Was there a third one?
Tyrek.
Cozy
Tyrek?
Glow?
Tyrek.
Are you
Tyrek?
talking about Tyrek? There was also Sombra,
Tyrek?
but
Well,
Tyrek was
some,
dead.
some,
Yeah, but
Sombra
Sombra-
fucking
Sombra-
died.
Sombra was dead
Blasted to smithereens.
twice.
Oh, yeah, he's antisocial too in the way that
He
his
turned into
brain
shadow
is
spaghetti.
just. Yeah, I don't know what Celestia did to him 1,000 years ago, but something went wrong with his brain. In that way, he's antisocial. He really likes crystals.
Well,
And
depending
other
on
things.
how you look at it, yeah, the antisocial. The way that I understood it is the fact that they're irredeemable due to their own pride. They refuse to see things any other way but their way. And it's the inflexibility, the pride, and the fact that the things that they want require everybody else to essentially be harmed in some way. With the main exception of Cozy Glow was probably the most likely to be like one that they could help. And there's a lot of fan theories on like how you could redeem each and every one of the villains. I'm not saying that irredeemable in the fact that they could never possibly ever be, but irredeemable in the way that the show never tried to, or at least not fully. They made them.
Right.
They gave them like the relatability of like, yes, they can work together. They can become a force to be reckoned with, but they're still a force of evil as far as the show's concerned.
Right.
Yeah, those
I do think
three,
it's kind
those
of,
three really have. Sorry, I was gonna say it's really interesting the dynamic those three in particular have, Cozy, Tyrek, and Chrysalis, because during the episode with Grogar's bell, you can kind of see that the seeds of redemption are there. Like they slowly realize that, yeah, actually working together with other people, it does benefit the group as a whole, and it makes them feel good. But it is Chrysalis that realizes this and keeps the other two in line. So it does beg the hypothetical of, if she weren't there, would the other two have gone a different way?
Well, arguably
That is
with
good.
Chrysalis, if you watch throughout the show, her biggest issue is that she refuses to take anything from Twilight or Starlight. She sees them as like the worst thing that has ever happened to her and has this obsession with getting back at them.
Yeah.
'Cause
She
I
refuses
think she
help,
might
yeah.
be right though. A little bit. If you think about it, her kingdom is like neighboring Equestria, and Equestria just let them starve for the longest of time. Why the hell would she trust them?
my counter to that is primarily like, we don't know if they even knew that the changelings properly existed or what they needed to feed off of.
Well, we
Yeah.
do know that they were aware of their existence because we have a comic where that takes place way before the
Oh, not even
beginning of the
that.
show, where Chrysalis and Celestia had a confrontation already.
But even before that, like let's consider for a second that the comics aren't canon. Like, sure, Celestia is the one.
Respect.
Spoiler alert! Who blasted all the holes in the chrysalis. However, Cadence already knew what a changeling was.
Yeah, that too.
Like, so, or she at least knew.
Even I think even when you take just the show into consideration, they do know of changelings.
And their attitude
Yes,
towards them is,
exactly,
"Oh
that's what
God, there's a changeling here, kill it." As demonstrated by that one Spike episode. Even though I understand there's some complications there, but still.
I mean, I think that comes with the fact that, one, their designs initially make them look very evil, and then you have Vampire Bug Horse.
Yeah.
It's not easy to trust something like that for a race that takes things at very face value. I mean,
Gonna be honest with
Yeah.
you, I do not relate to that take whatsoever.
And there's also the
Honestly,
fact that
They
they're
look evil.
shapeshifters.
I don't.
Are we
want to
discussing,
talk
like-
with them.
And they're shapeshifters.
Are we
I
discussing
feel
like
You,
like-
you inherently don't trust a shapeshifter.
Oh my God.
Honestly,
what was the question, KO?
Oh, I was just trying to make sure I'm staying on track. Are we discussing like what the public opinion was on changelings before or after the whole Canterlot wedding incident?
Before, right now.
I would assume they're quite the same because
Yeah. I was
no one in Canterlot seemed terribly happy about them being there anyway, and they felt
Yeah.
the need to hide the present. So yeah, probably.
I was
weren't
about to
welcome.
I was about to say I'm pretty sure the public opinion would be pretty hostile after that whole incident.
yeah.
I mean, yeah, they did
Yeah,
try
yeah.
to take over.
Sure.
But
is that hostility really justified when that neighboring kingdom is, once again villainized by the local public and starving? Like what did they?
It's
What can they
actually-
do? They can't do anything.
I can't
They had to
remember where I made that argument, but that is, Chrysalis is only a villain because it's the story of Equestria. Because if you look at it from her perspective, she's just doing what is necessary to feed her people.
Yeah.
She does it with a lot of evil cackling because it's a cartoon. But at the end of the day, she's just trying to feed her people, and then she gets dethroned. Her people turn their backs on her, and start following the equestrians, because they're not really like, if you look at the way that their society works, they are rejecting whatever civilization they had beforehand and trying to be not Equestria.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were colonized.
Yeah, that's like such an interesting concept. I just don't feel like the changelings pull it off very well. It's like they're trying to be like Equestria, but like they're failing at it. And I feel like they don't have enough of an identity for themselves anymore for that to pull off well. It's like
I think this has gone
it's not
off
like they're
this-
misunderstanding
It has
from
gone
a
off the
changeling
beaten path
perspective.
a
They're
little
just
bit.
doing it wrong.
But
Anyways, I was just pointing out how, you know, I don't think that that Chrysalis is necessarily, if we do, to be fair, a lot of extrapolation, being that unreasonable. You know.
I mean, you're not wrong on that one. She is
Yeah.
saying 100%. Like, it's. I think the part that becomes somewhat unreasonable is just her abject hatred of the pair Twilight and Starlight, because it seems to be, if I remember correctly, it was primarily those two she was focused on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Um,
it was.
I mean, to be fair, she has a good reason to hate Twilight. She literally did cause her people to starve further for a few more years, and you could barely tell.
Actually, that
Starlight from
wasn't Twilight, though. That was Cadence in Shining Armor.
I was honestly
I
just
mean,
building to the joke
Twilight's
that
the one who
Starlight and Twilight
freed
look the same.
Cadence.
Oh,
but
You both have sparkly cutie marks.
the two of them become like an obsession and this is an
Yeah.
issue that I had with her in the later
I think
seasons.
it's mainly Starlight, to be fair.
It
yeah.
does shift
I can't
more
remember
towards
if Twilight specifically herself was like much of an adversary,
She-
even though Twilight did get in the way of Chrysalis a lot because
know
she
that-
discovered.
I know that at one point she made the wooden main six
Oh, yeah.
like opposites.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, that
Yeah,
wasn't
honestly-
that wasn't out of hate for Twilight or any pony in specific. That was to get them to be able to use the elements of harmony for her to get her revenge on Equestria.
that was a
Not
main
hateful
at
all.
That wasn't, but that wasn't specifically about Twilight and friends. It was about Equestria as a whole. It just happened to involve them because they're the elements of harmony.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds about
I
right.
personally
Actually.
really like that. I Chrysalis went along that route. It's just like immediately following that, instead of like having her like reflect or anything, they just immediately dump her into the like bad guy squad.
Looks like Team Bug is blasting off again.
Honestly, Cozy Glow would have been a very difficult one, and a lot of people point to her as being one of the more redeemable of the three. I think Chrysalis is more likely. Give her back her people. Let her be the strong leader they need, because Thorax sucks at everything. But
Oh, come on!
Turn her into a skittle.
Under Thorax, the people are thriving. Their hive is doing quite well, and
Ima-
under her, they were
imagine-
starving. It's not completely her fault, but putting her back.
Yeah.
It's
she
really
wouldn't fit.
It's really funny hearing, well, imagining like Thorax in like some sort of roar room, but he's like constantly talking like this.
Hey, being a good politician isn't about how you sound; it's about how you talk.
I mean,
you know, and he.
this is
okay.
this is slightly off track, but he doesn't really do anything that isn't like just, oh, somebody else declared war, I'm a declare war. Because there's literally a scene where he they
That's
were
how alliances
missing
work, baby.
the I think it was the Griffins that initially declare war because of missing children, and then Thorax like looks at him and is like, yeah, us too. And like they're adopting things that they don't understand, and instead of like, because we're shown that their Equestria has one of the artifacts to their history, but like they don't try to figure any of that out, and you see them essentially trying to adopt equestrian life without understanding what they're doing. Yes, I understand the parallels to colonization, but I feel like he's not really the best leader for them.
Yeah.
Didn't he?
Are you
I
saying
forget.
that your least
I mean,
favorite
I think,
villain is
I think
Thorax?
part of that. I think part of that might just be like hive mentality because they've lost their queen. So and they have another leader. So what does the other leader have to pull from? Which is that's Equestria.
Yeah.
And the rest of the
they have
hive, being the hive, will follow because they're a hive.
Yeah.
I mean,
But,
I do think it's in the economic interest of the changelings to go along with the horses, you know. So it makes sense that they do that.
Go along with the master race.
Yeah. I would have loved to
will not
I would have loved to have seen the whole changeling thing. Like after season 6, they they became Skittlebugs and Christmas ran off. I would have loved to have seen them
Magical
execute
reindeer
all of
bug
that
OCs.
better, but it needed more time. Like they needed to put more focus on the bugs. Like they needed to not just be ponies, but with like a different coat of paint. They still needed to be changelings at the same time. Because, like, if you look at it, there's the one episode where it's like, oh, we're going to go over to the Changeling Lands. And it's like, oh, all of them abandoned their entire culture and have, like, become basically just ponies now. Except for one of them. So we're going to talk to the one guy who is, like, retaining in people's culture single-handedly. And we're going to tell him to stop.
So I think the point that the show was trying to make there was that the
Civil War,
changelings
and one side is just the one guy.
didn't have much of a culture up to that point.
Yeah.
And that they are now exploring the difficult path of developing themselves as a people, and that happened through cultural exchange. So when we do find the one guy, the one guy who still sucks because he's doing the same hateful thing that they were doing before, you know, the show points out that that's not good. You know, there's like if we frame this through the idea of like socializing and friendship and stuff, I think it all makes sense. Even if you may not find that terribly compelling, and neither do I, to be honest. Not in the way that they
I
do
mean,
it.
like, it wouldn't have taken that much to make it better. Like, all you need to do is just add, like, good aspects to their culture, like, retroactively. Like, while Starlight's over there trying to, like, tell, like, Pharynx, like, hey, your culture sucked, just forget about it. Like,
Eric's
if she
wants to
could,
go
like,
back to
see
being
him,
monkey.
like, doing actually good things that his culture does that nobody knew about before, like, they could just make something up. Like,
point is that
It is a bit of a weird transformation over the course of. I think if you take all of the episodes that focus on the changelings, you'd have like half a season or a whole season's worth of content. So it's a very dramatic transformation over the course of that time.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But I do just want to point out that I think I'm not going to cite any historical examples, but when a culture emerges that is completely in opposition to another culture, usually they do not have much of a culture themselves that emerges from that, you know? It's not about that. So I think it makes quite a lot of sense, personally, that when we encounter one of the holdouts, they don't have much of a culture to share. All they're about is hate, you know?
Yeah. But
To that,
all you
I
needed
think
is
it's
just
somewhat
one
profound.
thing. You just
Alright.
needed like one aspect of
On this,
of
we
like
just-
any kind of culture. Like I don't know.
I mean, with this, they have a artifact called, I believe it was the Mirror of Mirage, that is entirely changeling. Like it is a changeling of unknown age that is no longer alive, and they have a magical artifact in, ironically, Equestria that the Equestrians have hold of that we are given no other context to other than that. So
To
it
be
implies
honest-
that there's more there.
To be honest, if it's that old, it wouldn't surprise me if it's from a completely different hive somewhere else.
Yeah, I
the
can see
same
that.
hive. It just could have been that
Because
Chrysalis
we only
was a
we only
terrible
saw
leader.
we only
Like,
saw
destroyed
one
their
hive.
culture.
It depends on what you take as canon for their origins, because there is also the supposed origin that Star Swirl magically did something to a tree and then it spewed out bugs that were horses.
What a
So
weirdo. Why would he do that? What a dick.
because
I'm
he was
imagining one-
experimenting.
I'm
I don't like
imagining
the
one
Starfall
thing that
guy. He's the
Wait, this whole thing has gone pretty much exactly the way I thought that this stream was going to go, which is just obsessing over Chrysalis for way too long.
She is one of the more compelling villains. That's why.
villain for a
So
reason.
when everyone was bringing up their favorite villains, I thought, oh, here come the Chrysalis. Here come the
I mean,
Chrysalis.
let's pull up the checklist real quick. Nightmare Moon. Everyone loves her, but like she immediately reformed into Luna, and people more focus on like the edgy, like, ooh, nobody likes me. And then there's Discord. He immediately reformed. He's kind of cool. There's no problems there. Chrysalis, like belly flop, like irredeemable villain.
Actually,
Stayed a villain.
I'm gonna stop you there.
For like
There
8
were
seasons.
some issues with Discord after his reformation. It was never a smooth road.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
I
just
agree.
wanna-
But he's
That's
still a
because he's
cool
the
guy. We
spirit
still
of
like him.
chaos. That's in his.
No,
nature.
I hate Discord. We do not
Honestly,
like
I
him.
think the problem with Discord is that he never actually reformed. He just decided, oh, friendship is cool. I like Fluttershy. I'm not gonna
Yeah,
ask a question
that's
anymore 'cause
reformation,
that makes Fluttershy
actually.
sad.
That is.
That's what reformation looks like.
Yeah.
He's
that
like,
is-
I'll be friends, but only with this one specific pony.
The
Yeah.
issue that you run into with Discord too is he spends most of the time in the show like being the center of a lot of problems because he can. It's funny to him. He's gonna do it.
Hey.
He also thinks
Yep.
that he's.
His life depends on it. He will die if he doesn't do shit
literally,
like that.
yeah.
He
Yeah,
also spends
yeah,
a lot
no,
of
it's
time
totally
playing God
understandable.
too.
He tried to run back in like the other direction during the whole like
To
tier
be
situation
honest,
as well.
he kind of is a god.
I mean, no, you're not wrong. He
Pretty
is.
much.
He is the. For all lack of any better way to say it, he is a god of chaos. But
Yeah.
he's used quite often as either a Deus Ex Machina or the source of all of the problems. My my second favorite
He
villain,
legit-
Grogar, was never actually featured because Discord existed,
Oh,
and I was so
okay.
pissed.
So yeah, you actually
Oh,
like
I
Discord. not Grogar.
remember
I-
Grogar.
I was so confused when they actually revealed that. I was like, oh, so it was a clone. Okay. That was
All
yeah,
of, all
yeah,
of
that was
that
fun.
is
Okay.
also
Honestly,
all of that is also
that
well
whole story
intentioned.
arc. Honestly, the whole Grogar story arc in G4 is the dumbest thing I think they could have possibly done.
Yeah.
Like,
What?
not
Oh,
only
also-
is it not a good ending for any of those villains, but also that just like nails in that's like the final nail in the coffin that Discord literally never changed. He just likes the ponies now.
I thought the whole point of him doing the whole villain
Yeah.
force thing was to teach them the magic of friendship.
Yeah,
and since
it
they're
was.
collection of assholes, they just
the whole plan
Got it.
the whole plan was to prepare Twilight for
yeah.
taking over Equestria.
Just
So,
because
in
it was
his own-
ill
in
thought
his
out
own
doesn't
weird
mean he was
way.
being evil.
yeah,
All of
in
a
his
sudden,
own
they
weird
left
way, it is well intentioned.
See,
Good idea,
Yeah.
bad execution.
He believes in learning
But
on the
he's-
job. Is the thing.
Yeah, I feel like that was his intention, but at the same time, if you do the same, like he's already done this with Tyrek, and like
Yeah.
also,
Yeah.
why was he asking them to go get Grogar's bell? He's taking the most untrustworthy people
Because-
in all of Equestria, and he's giving
So
them
he-
the
the-
one
the-
artifact that they
that's
could
be-
Uno
hold on,
reverse
hold on,
card him with.
the reason why he did that is because of his biggest flaw is the fact that he believed he could handle anything they threw at him. He believed so much in
Yeah.
his power that
He did
he could
get
not be
very
stopped.
full of
And
himself.
also, he nearly we actually almost saw what was probably his idea. Get them to actually be friends, because it almost happened. But then Chrysalis screamed out no and made it not happen.
Well, I blame the showrunners for being cowardly and not actually just letting it be and actually sticking to the
and
themes
not
of the
turning
show.
Chrysalis into a skittle.
So
They could have turned. Well, you might have liked the Skittle design for Chrysalis. You don't know that.
For my
You know what?
But yeah, the ending. Kind of
my
sucks.
opinions,
I'm not
as a
against
writer.
it.
My opinions as a writer is if they wanted that threat, rather than having Discord make the threat, have actual Grogar show up and make that threat happen.
But I think this is an interesting thing to do with Discord, though, because he's actually internalized the things that he's being taught. He tries to do it with other villains. I think that's just an interesting thing to do. Like, I don't like him, but like he's trying his best, and he is truly reformed, and you can see it in those actions, flawed as they may be.
Yeah, it is
Yeah.
kind of a bittersweet arc because on the one hand, yes, this is showing that Grogar has not Grogar, Discord. There we go again. That the Discord has a good heart and he really does want the best for Twilight in his own weird way. It's just weird that he used Grogar's image to do that, but I can see the justification in the lore that Grogar and Gusty is like ancient pony history to the point where he's completely gone now. He hasn't been trapped or anything.
I mean, given how many villains just kind of live indefinitely, I would not be surprised if he is actually still trapped somewhere.
Yeah. I was one of those people who was really excited to see Grogar because I've seen all the G1 stuff as well, so I was really excited that the Grogar was being acknowledged, but the way they did it, it's a disappointing, but it's kind of it's good for what they actually did, even though what it could have been is also good.
I am having a lot of ideas on how it could have went better right now, so I'm just not gonna go over a lot of them. But Occam's razor. There's a lot of things they could have just cut to improve it. Like, for example, make it actually Rogar, like Nameless said. You could also just cut Rogar entirely because, like, Chrysalis has been around since season 2, and she's been like trying all these different plans. Like, she already summons the Mean Six. She probably has determined that she can't do it alone anymore. You could just have her form the team. Make her Grogar.
Actually, I would say
They're a bunch of weird antisocial assholes. Why would they? They
I
haven't
would
done
say
that up to
that,
this point. Why would they start? They need a force.
Nameless.
What's up?
I should let you know your live stream title is misspelled.
Did I do that? Let me guess. I put the I in the wrong place for villains.
Discusses is missing an S.
Oh, so it was a typo, not a. I do that sometimes.
The true villains of reality. People who care about typos, not watching a stream.
Hey, trying to make this professional. As professional.
The true villains,
Professional ponies.
people who don't leave a question for the end of the live stream.
At the end of the live stream, it's not going to matter anymore.
So, I do want to say that I do think that what Nez proposed is possible, but I would propose rather than Chrysalis, because Chrysalis's pride would get in the way. I think Cozy Glow probably would have eventually been able to, like, if she could get around being the obnoxious Darla Dimple stand-in, she could probably have been able to get together a League of Villains. It's just questionable whether it would have included T-Rick or Chrysalis.
Yeah, they all
Honestly,
have
that would be
problems.
more in character for her.
Because her whole thing
I feel like
was friendship is power.
Yeah, exactly. Honestly, let's talk about her for a minute.
Actually,
Because I feel like they
would
could
that have
have.
been-
She had a lot of potential that they just didn't use.
I was going to say, would that
she
have
showed up-
been out of character for her? Because she has already worked together with Tyrek. Like, they already have a relationship.
Yeah, like
Oh,
honestly,
Oh yeah, that's right.
like Cozy Glow had a lot of potential on the table. Like they basically used her as a twist villain, and then they immediately threw her in the group. Like she could have like done other things. Like she could have done what Chrysalis did and just did like small things behind the scenes that maybe didn't work.
It would have been interesting to see her like not get caught as quickly, because it feels like they escalated her original plot a little quickly. It would have been more interesting to see things start to fall apart in the background because she creates a network of quote unquote friends that she really doesn't give a shit about, and it's obvious she's just using them for the audience. But to them, they're like, oh, this person is friend, and then essentially have it be that they have to like expose that eventually for the storyline. That would have been a very interesting route to take it, and the lesson that not everybody that claims to be a friend is a friend would be an interesting one to teach from a moral
Isn't that what
perspective.
they did already, though?
Blow the 5-year-old's mind.
I think so. Honestly, it's been like 3 years since I watched the show, so I'm a bit fuzzy on exactly what the message was for her arc.
Yeah, same.
I have no idea either. But I have a
stopped
question for you
watching when the
guys.
series ended.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I've
I've got a
I-
question.
Go ahead. Yes.
I've got a question for you guys and the audience. Like, I kind of had Crozicula's season spoiled because, like, during the start of the season, like, someone I don't remember where I was, but someone posted like the part 2 of the season finale, like somewhere, like before the season even started, like, you know, like the leak. So I got caught like the first minute or so of that, and I saw her as a villain. I'm like, this has to be fan made, right? I'm going to bookmark this and come back after the season and then laugh. But it just was the episode. So, like, I had that immediately spoiled. So I was just constantly doubting, like, no, she's not a villain. How obvious was that? Like, I was actively doubting it because I got spoiled. How obvious was it she was the villain?
Were you around?
It was-
Were you around at the beginning of the season when everyone was speculating that Cozy Glow was actually Chrysalis?
Oh gosh, that would have been really funny.
No. I
that
did
was
not
that
get
was a
any of
genuine
would've
thing
been-
that people were speculating.
So
I would have loved that. I would have loved that so much.
That would have been so funny.
her design, thanks to
Giant
the character
7-foot
Darla
horse
Dimple,
bug.
very much communicated this is a villain to me.
Yeah, because
Because-
I've also seen that whole stereotype before. Oh, innocent little girl is also actually evil.
There's
'cause it was
even the
introduced for it as
hair.
well.
The hair is like a hallmark of that character, of Darla Dimple's actual character design. So, like, just
Hold on.
seeing the character, she didn't even have to speak. The speaking just kind of put the nail in the coffin for me. But
golly, missed you.
yeah, she was very telegraphed as a villain. And if you were aware of things like Darla Dimple, because that's very obviously where the inspiration for her came from. She's even got the temper tantrums down too.
And the kind of thickly sweet child who is far too good to be true.
Yeah, it's a stereotype that I've seen many times before. So, like Nameless said, when she's introduced, you kind of just get it if you're familiar with the
Yeah.
stereotype.
Yeah, a lot of people aren't
It
anymore
definitely doesn't
because it's
help.
old.
Yeah, I'm not even familiar with the stereotype, but like, she just obviously looks like a character who's like, Pony is already cute, but they like dialed the cute up. Like they gave her like the little like eye smiles and like the dimples, and it's like they're obviously trying to make her look as cute and innocent as possible, and that's a huge red flag.
Like she looks a little too cute.
Also, can we say that
Yeah,
like her
exactly.
cutie mark is a chess piece, which just says
Oh,
everything?
yeah.
Her cutie mark is a chess piece, and she has red eyes.
Wait, does she actually?
Yeah, she has red eyes.
So I
I
think
don't think I ever noticed that. Oh yeah, she does.
I think
I
a
don't
little
think
bit of
Red
a
Eyes meant-
change of pace, though. We're gonna discuss another villain that I know that Nashi is almost guaranteed to have heard of. I don't know if you guys have though, but there is a comic-based villain that is the explanation for why Equestria is so bad at history. You know
Yep.
who yeah.
Ooh.
I know who
forget-
you're talking about.
I
So bad
forget
at
his
history.
name, but he is a descendant of Stygians, and his entire story arc
Oh.
is he is going around erasing history and his own memories as a side effect. Trying
When you mean
to
erasing, when you mean erasing
God,
history,
Like,
you mean
he's
like going back
literally,
in
like-
time and stopping
which
it?
one
no,
was
like-
that?
He's literally like using magic to erase information from books, and
Okay.
a side effect from doing that is it actually removes it from the memory of anyone who read those books.
Oh, interesting.
Which
Okay.
one was that again?
do you remember the name Nashi? I know who I'm talking about, but I can't. His name was something to do with Shadow.
I actually have the comic that he's in right here.
Is
Let
it,
me find it.
It's not like Shadowlock?
I think it is Shadowlock.
Fun. I'm googling this. Let's see. A male unicorn pony and reformed antagonist who appears from the. Was he like a gray body, purple-ish mane
Yes.
with a cloak?
Yes.
Yeah, it's Locke, Shadowlock.
Okay,
So-
how did I
I'm
remember
literally
that?
looking through my comic book right now. That's him.
You what?
I gotta read some of
How
these
did I
comics, 'cause I'm
remember you? You have like the most generic design ever.
I'm missing out on some lore. Goodness.
So
Yeah.
it's one of those that because everybody knows that Equestria doesn't history ever, unless it's conveniently recalled by Celestia or Luna. Whenever it's about to kick in their door. But he is like part of the explanation, and his story is because of his ancestor Stygian's failures. He wants to erase all history so that nobody knows about it. It's an interesting storyline that kind of explores the idea of with
Apparently,
the
he's in the from the Game Loft game.
well, everything is in the game. game.
That's the image on the wiki. Yeah, the one from the game.
At this point,
I'm curious about this character now. Like,
Literally everything
very
is in the Game
familiar
Loft game.
to it. Like,
For whatever
this
reason, the main art I saw.
character-
Yeah,
Oh, sorry.
I
this Shadowlock
remember.
character-
I remember that arc. That was an interesting arc.
I like it too because he had like more like book based magic in him. Like he was able to bring like characters from fictional stories to life.
Yeah, that's
and, like-
that's
and,
the
like-
part that I remember
Yeah,
him.
and he
for.
would like summon monsters like the pony version of
Yeah,
Frankenstein
the one
or
with the
other like
Cyclops,
one of like Cyclops out of
yeah.
and like
OC
so like
writer's
whenever the
strike.
main six would catch up to him, he would like summon a bunch of monsters out of the books because they would always find him in a library, of course, and so he would summon a bunch of monsters and escape.
and
I
it's,
just found this
Yeah,
piece
that's
of art.
And the
that's
idea of
definitely
just
familiar
summoning
with.
the
That's what I remember him for.
just summoning Frankenstein's monster as like a thing to defeat.
Summoning
Oh, how rude!
pony version of the witch from Snow White. Yeah, that's what I remember him for.
Yeah,
yeah, it's definitely a very interesting storyline. I kind of wish they had that one in the show, to be honest.
yeah, that would have been a fun arc if it was
heck yeah.
actually animated.
But I just wanted to bring that up because
I've
not
got
a lot of
comic
people.
lore I need to catch up on.
A lot of people don't know he exists because he's comic only.
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
I do want to drag Ignis out by the seat of his pants and get him to explain his stance on Celestia.
Well, you've ruined a bit of it by mentioning this random comic guy, which is very infuriating.
I know where this is going.
I mean, come on, we've all heard these arguments. Celestia is the grand antagonist of the entirety of My Little Pony, and all 9 seasons are about replacing her incompetent ass. Therefore, she is the worst villain.
That is a great elevator pitch.
I mean,
Okay, I didn't
my
know where that
main
was going.
argument-
He's-
my main argument here is that in season 1, ponies were pulling trains, and in season 2, after Luna comes back, suddenly the trains are working again.
Whoa.
Something's deeply wrong with
That
the
was
pieces
that
are-
was
the
not
pieces are
in
falling
any
into
way
place.
where I thought that was going, because I thought that was gonna go to the mirror Luna and Celestia from the Reflections arc.
I do not know what that
Oh, yeah,
is.
that
I
whole
am
thing.
purely speaking on
Celestia
what
loves
I
There's-
remember
Labor.
from
Yeah,
Basically,
the show.
there's
the gothic,
there's
the
an
gothic
alternate
Luna.
universe where all the good guys are evil and all the evil guys are good.
Oh.
Yeah,
but
so there's
yeah,
there's
no.
a good Sombra in there and all sorts. Yeah.
No, cool. I think not cool. Why the hell would you do that to Sombra? Anyway, but you know, like I must admit to being a bit silly, but at the same time, Celestia really is the antithesis of like the idea of friendship when it comes to like foreign policy. Again, with the Changeling, she just leaves them there to starve. What happened with the Crystal Empire? Well, a pony took over. One of her people. Does he eat crystal corn on the cob? I don't think so. How did he get in power there? Celestia, that's how. And what does she do when he fucking takes over and has the crystal ponies walk in circles for his pleasure?
I think I'm starting to imagine you standing in front of a corkboard
Thus-
right now.
Thus was the origin of the merry-go-round.
Well, actually, I think I actually like not fully agree, because she is the mentor to the fixing of the problems she causes. But I want to point out.
I feel like the entire. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I interrupted you.
I want to point out that the entirety of this show is a series of Celestia kick the can down the road, because T-Rex was an issue that Celestia sealed away. Discord, Celestia and Luna turned him to stone. Luna herself, Nightmare Moon, the very first villain we are ever introduced to, is Celestia's sister. That rather than
for 1,000 years. Yeah.
not only is she the reason why she becomes Nightmare Moon, she is also the reason why she gets imprisoned in the moon and comes back 1,000 years later.
I'm still of the theory that what happens when the elements hit something is based on what the tree wants, not what the wielder wants.
Even then, though, she, rather than trying to like reason with her or trying to like stop the problem before it became Nightmare Moon, she just let it fester.
Yeah.
Queen of duct tape.
Yeah, it's Celestia
That
being
is a point.
I'm just gonna say that it's.
I'll
She's the
deal
queen
with
of
this
short-term
later.
fixes.
I think it's not actually a good thing for Celestia's character that a literal tree is better at decision making than she is.
There is a long line of villains and problems that happen because of a lack of competence from Celestia herself.
Mhm.
And
And I do want to point out that that she leaves Twilight to run the kingdom, and apparently, according to G5, she just leaves and never comes back. And when Twilight finally kicks the bucket, the rest of Equestria turns back into like 3 small towns. She's a terrible leader. She does not care about her people at all.
I
That was the-
would argue that with not against you specifically, Ignis, but like
Mhm.
with Luna at the very least, there's a lot more showing of mentorship with her interactions with the CMC, and the fact that the one major issue that she actually spawns that we see, the Tantabus, she works to fix it herself rather than having somebody else fix it, 1,000 years later.
Yeah, but God, how many examples? Like, what about the hippogriffs? That's her fault, isn't it? That they get hidden away forever, and the country right next to her is completely fucked.
No, that's the Storm King's fault.
Yeah, why isn't she helping with that? What the hell? Why is she such an
I have
isolationist?
lost track of
I
the
also-
conversation.
This is not in the spirit
I also-
of friendship at all.
with Celestia, if you and Nashi, you should remember this one. In the comic, fiendship is magic. It gives origins to a lot of the villains, and the reason Tyrek is kicked out of his kingdom is because he and his mentor drained the magic out of a unicorn, and the banishment comes as a reaction to that because they are terrified of Celestia's response. Like there is no, oh, this could be bad. No, this will be bad.
Yeah.
And they're already trying to run damage control before Celestia even finds out.
Yep.
So, if anything, the things that she does interact with is enough to cause fear in neighboring kingdoms, because the centaurs and the gargoyles, like, they co-rule their own kingdom. That this is an existing country. So, Celestia is not as good at anything, honestly, other than fucking up, as a lot of the fandom likes to believe. Because
I mean, we know that.
there's a lot
reason
of
they banned Tyrek is because they're not afraid of what she might do. They're afraid of what she might fuck up.
But
Just don't let her touch anything.
there's also the kind of like blank space in between the banishment of Nightmare Moon and the arrival of Nightmare Moon again and Rise of the Main Six, that
Twiggles and crew. Yeah.
they don't really have any kind of like actual history on, because it's always stuff that come back from when Luna helped Celestia do something. So it begs the question, was she like a totalitarian dictator during that time and nobody was brave enough to do anything that could be considered a crime? Or did she just like close off the borders enough that nothing bothered them during that time? Because 1,000 years is a long time to not have anything happen that they really make note of.
Yeah, my theory here is that because I've not read the comics or anything, Celestia came to power with Luna, and Luna just kind of went along with whatever the hell that Celestia wanted, and their foreign policy was absolute ass. All of the kingdoms around them either hate them or get destroyed in some way because of them. So about 1,000 years ago, Celestia becomes an isolationist and closes up the borders and stuff, and pony kind becomes economically stagnant, and that's why the towns are tiny, and as I said, the trains are pulled by horses because they just can't get coal, obviously. And as soon as things start opening up, because the tree takes over in Twilight, we start to see the towns get bigger and the houses get nicer. This is not because the show got more budget. This is real lore, I promise. Okay, that's the end of the thought. Thank you for letting me rant.
She would have to close off the borders to stop anyone coming in, because she was busy training other ponies to deal with the problems she locked away. I'll lock this away.
And one of them left her because
I'll lock this away for later and teach other people how to deal with this.
One of them hated her so much that they left to spend like 20 years in high school. Could you do that? Would you do that?
So there's also the fact that, and a lot of people wouldn't bring this up normally, but if you think about it, Star Swirl didn't even trust her to help with the whole Pony of Shadows situation. The Pillars of Equestria were around at the same time as Celestia being in power, because
honestly, Star Swirl might be where Celestia got it from. Honestly,
to be entirely honest, she and Luna both were taught by Star Swirl. So it's a generational
trauma.
Had a notable problem of listening to people.
He also has if you look at the comics, he has a history of fucking up, because the tree that birthed the changeling race, according to the comics, it partially did it because he nailed the sign "Do not touch" into it.
Yep.
He he ignored Stygian, didn't want Stygian to help, even when Stygian was trying to do things so that he could help. Instead, they turned their back on him, and he became Pony of Shadows, at which point their solution was seal him in limbo.
And
along with
then,
the rest of them.
yeah, and then, like, after they came back, he completely ignored Twilight and was like, "Fuck you! My plan is the best plan. We're going with it."
Which, if that is the similar, if not the same mentality as Celestia, while Luna and her were ruling together before Nightmare Moon happened, I couldn't 100% understand somebody getting so pissed off to the point that they literally go berserk on the person that is perpetrating all of it. Not to mention
because they were specifically taught by Star Swirl, so she would probably just learn to barrel through everything that like he does.
Also,
the Moon actually has a large collection of economics textbooks. So.
I want to point out that the fact that this very much just turned into going from talking about villains to bashing what was supposedly one of the best heroes, depending on how you looked at it.
This is about Celestia. This is about Celestia now. This is a Celestia. this is a dunking on Celestia stream.
But I also
forget all the actual villains.
If we're doing
just because we're told they're villains doesn't mean that they're more legitimately hostile to Equestria.
Well, actually, that perfectly segues into what I was about to say. Flim and Flam aren't as bad of a villain, at least in the first appearance, as people want to make them.
They're just capitalists.
They're not even capitalists. They're just
traditional scamming people is just inherently not as bad as trying to.
They weren't even scamming people. They just had a machine.
Yeah, their first appearance.
Industrial Revolution and its consequences.
The first thing that they did was just make apple cider faster.
Yeah.
And the only time that it went bad is when when somebody else turned it into a competition and they were trying to win at all costs, they turned off the quality check, and that's when things went wrong.
Yeah, and to be fair, that is a shitty thing to do. Like, you don't know what was in that cider. Someone got like cancer or something.
I don't think it was cancer, but like some of those like ciders had like fucking tree branches in it
and rocks.
Like
the point was that turning off regulation was bad for health.
If they had like worked together with the apples rather than it been turned into a tradition versus what's the word I'm looking for?
Automation.
Not even automation. It's
tradition versus modernism.
Yeah, there we go. Modernization.
Okay.
If it hadn't turned into a battle between the two, then they could have very easily made a much more convenient, like for the populace, much more convenient way to get cider, because it takes quite a bit of time to make cider by hoof, as shown by the show, and all that the Flim Flam brothers did was make it faster.
Well, to be fair, they also did show up at the apple farm and just started taking apples to instigate the entire thing. So there is that. That's pretty shitty.
Yeah.
At the same time,
they did get significantly worse when they like scammed people by pretending to be a university.
Yeah, that was.
I don't know.
Yeah, their subsequent appearances, they actually did fill villain roles much better.
Let's not forget about the time that they were actual snake oil salesmen.
Yeah, literal snake oil salesmen. Yep.
But yeah, that first appearance, they really weren't.
Equestrian Dream.
They really weren't that.
Their character arc was learning how to make good scams.
We just got better at being bad.
Like it, like all they had to do was just like pay for the apples, and then just sell the cider once the Apple family
family were being kind of bitchy.
They
Come
were.
on.
And it actually, as somebody who was in the military, where they are mired in tradition to the point that it's ridiculous. Traditions can be a bit of a roadblock in a lot of cases. So I feel like it would have been a better lesson
It's okay to steal
to have them learn.
But then again, the Apple family already tried making like deals and stuff, didn't they? With like Filthy Rich to sell their apples.
Yeah, but his name is like a red flag.
I'm trying to remember what you're talking about.
I don't know what you're talking about.
The one with where Applejack tells a bunch of lies. That episode.
So, where the
Season
apple lies.
1?
Yeah.
It was like season 6, I think.
I just remember hating that episode and skipping through a lot of it because it was getting obnoxious.
Yeah, 'cause they had like a deal in place with Filthy Rich, I think. So
Yep.
they could have had a business deal with Fleming Flam, but they didn't.
I remember that episode also having several large misunderstandings that if people had just talked to each other, it would have been just fine.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think that was the point of the episode, though. Talk to people.
Well, we wouldn't have gotten the
Yeah, like
song.
the moral of
though.
the episode was
Pretty sure it was a song.
lies lead to more lies, and it just spirals out of control.
I mean,
Yep.
that is that.
And
is
hey,
what
it's also the
Moral Bunny is about.
episode that taught us that friggin' Spoiled Rich's name was originally Spoiled Milk.
Wait, was it?
Yep.
No, spoiled milk is his
Yeah.
wife.
No. Yeah, it said Spoiled Rich. His name was originally Spoiled Milk. She became Spoiled Rich when she married Filthy Rich.
Wow,
Oh yeah.
this is really interesting social commentary we've got going here in this this.
We
show.
we have derailed entirely.
What do you mean? We're still talking about villains.
There
Wait,
is no
wait,
train
hold
left.
up.
We're talking about Spoiled Rich. We're still talking about villains.
Wait,
Yeah.
you're saying that we derailed, but there was we never got on the rail in like Nameless
Yeah,
never
it's
put us on the
because
track.
the train is being pulled by
I
horses.
suppose we have gone into like more minor villains with like
We went
Spoiled
from-
Rich and Diamond Tiara.
But they
We
are
went from
still
the terrors of the
villains.
We went from the terrors of the
Yeah.
unknown universe.
I
to
think we've gone into antagonist territory, definitely.
They still count. As far as I'm concerned, when I say villains, I don't necessarily always mean arc defining, because sometimes the villain is just that one dude that threw a rock at someone. It's just how you look at it. Villain is generally meant to be like an evildoer of some kind, which is an antagonistic force. Not always going to be. Sometimes it's not even going to be like something that's fully sentient. Case in point,
Like
the bats.
Oh, how dare you! I like
the
those
song just
bats.
started playing in my
They're just
head.
killy.
They act as an antagonistic force, which can be. You can basically verbally shorthand it as just saying they're the villains of the story.
Yeah, that's fair.
Sure.
So we really haven't gotten that far off track. If you want to argue it, given that the show frames Celestia as more of a hero than a villain, that might have been off track, but I disagree, and it's my podcast, so I get to make the rules. But yeah, honestly, any kind of antagonistic force qualifies as a villain, as far as I'm concerned.
I'd agree.
That would
Okay,
even
in that case, the worst villain is that one book that that Starlight yeeted into the river. That was the least interesting villain of all of them.
Oh, you mean the one that
The
the rules
EEA
and regulation
rulebook.
one?
Yeah, that one.
The EEA rulebook.
Yeah, that
We don't.
I hated that.
That would be Chancellor Naysay.
Yeah, I hated
No,
that
I'm
character.
talking about the book. The book was the true
The
villain because Twilight wouldn't listen to Naysay, but she will listen to a book.
Yeah,
I mean, it's on character. Maybe.
that does sound like Twilight, to be entirely honest.
Okay, so how do we feel about Naysay then? He is kind of terrible.
Honestly,
He's a overly rigid prick.
Hmm.
But in
honestly,
He's
he
fucking
is-
racist.
he
Of
is
course
bad
I
for
hate him.
being here.
I guess in
Okay.
his own way, he was actually reformed. Ironically,
He
He was. Yeah, it
Oh
was
my
at
yeah,
the very
he
end.
was.
Yeah, he actually learned to stop being so racist.
Yeah,
Yeah, because he
Damn.
was the closest we had to true racism in the show, and
Ah.
it's because of the amount of overt racist like mentality that it had in that storyline, that he was like essentially saying that only ponies should be able to do this, only ponies this, that, and
Yeah.
other.
Yeah, I mean, I'd actually hard disagree with that because, like, yeah, sure, he's like a cartoonish like idea of a racist, but like, I like
Yeah.
the Thorax introduction episode is much more nuanced in its regards of like how that type, like on that subject, they look evil, they've done something bad in the past, we don't like them, is a much more like articulate way to convey themes of racism than, well, this one guy is a dick. You know?
yeah, you could probably read into it a bit more with the changelings.
I think the changelings, it does require more reading into it, and given that this is a show for kids,
I think where
I
like Naysay actually gets into actually a really good example of racist character is the fact that he's not just like, oh, this should only be for ponies. Like, he actively literally calls like all the other races like dangerous.
that is something I did not remember,
Yeah.
but is a good point.
Yeah, he does. He does. Even when Celestia comes down and confronts him about how Equestria was actually formed, you know, with different pony races cooperating, he just ignores that.
Yep.
Yeah, and with
Well-
the changeling one, yes, you can read it as racism. However, it's meant to be more don't judge a book by its cover. So it's not like the overt racism is bad kind of storyline, as so much as it is the implied that just because they may look bad doesn't mean that they are bad.
Yeah.
So it's the more
And also have done something bad in the
Naysay's like-
past.
And
yeah.
Naysay's
as an
actually
entire
talking
race.
about Naysay's talking about races where the episode To Change a Changeling is more like, oh, you got the shit beaten out of you by a biker, but this biker is fine.
Because it
no,
with the
no, like okay, no, I will not let this happen. Okay, so for one, we can get a bit more nuanced with this one. I don't think that that guy, I can't remember his name. What was it again?
Naysay.
Naysay?
Naysay?
Naysay. I don't think Naysay's a racist. He's a pony supremacist, which is a bit
That's-
different.
So I also want to
Say,
point
he
out
can
though,
be racist.
That's
But-
kind of like like 2/4 of one half of the other.
Sure.
What?
But then
The-
we come to these arcs related to the changelings, okay? When the show is discussing the changelings in the two episodes that I think are relevant, the Thorax one where he himself is a good guy, and the finale where they all change. The idea is that the entire race is marked by one wrongdoing, and all of the ponies regard them in that way. They use similar justifications as y'all did, you know. They look wrong, they look evil, and they're you know they can change into a shapeshifter. You can't trust inherently can't trust a shapeshifter. Being able to shapeshift inherently makes you somehow manipulative and bad. So these are the motives that are going into this episode, and the episode explores them. It's not it's not about how Thorax is actually a good guy and everyone else is bad. Everyone else isn't bad. They're all good, except for that one dick who shows up later, as is pointed out by the season finale. These ideas about Thorax being bad because of the history of his race, the things that it can do, and the way they look, like, thumbs up. These are definitely very articulate messages, sure, but it is a children's show, so it does reduce them and use elements in the show to do it, like making them obviously look bad, having the history be redepicted in the episode and stuff about the Canterlot invasion and stuff.
I do agree that there is the undertones of it, but I still maintain that like the primary morals don't judge a book by its cover, whereas like the naysay stuff is more of a racism is bad, overtly, because it is meant to be a family show, but primarily aimed at kids. With that, you can have the nuanced storytelling that you're talking about that an adult will understand that there is undercurrents of don't be racist in the story, but what a kid will hear is the idea that, hey, this guy may look like bad, but does not mean is bad. And like the older you get, the more you can peel back layers of the nuance. So
Sure.
The primary moral is like don't judge a book by its cover, but then can be extrapolated out into don't judge a book by its history, don't judge a race by its history, don't judge a race by generalizations.
I suppose that general lesson is kind of flipped on its head with the season with Naysay and Cozy Glow, because neither of them really look like what you would interpret as evil, but they end up being really nasty characters.
Are you sure about that?
I would.
Naysay looks like an ass even before he says anything.
Naysay looks like official and stern, but he's not like pointy and sharp like all the other villains were.
His design has a lot of severity to it, is the word that I would use. And so that's
a good word for it.
You have a certain expectation going in, and like I said with Cozy Glow, she's got the Darla Dimple character archetype. So she's already kind of she's throwing red flags for even people who don't know who Darla Dimple is, because Nez didn't know who Darla Dimple is, and Nez was like, seems evil. Everybody was catching, like, even if they didn't know the Darla Dimple.
I clocked her like the first time I saw her.
So people understood that these characters, despite like initial like passes, if you were just like glancing at them, you might go, oh, they might be okay. If you look at the character design, they still read as not the best types. And the idea behind the design is they were also trying to like communicate that without having to overtly say it that they're bad. And then they hammered it in with the characters' personalities. Or at least from my perspective as a writer and a storyteller, that is how it panned out. So they did a decent job of, without breaking the story, the storytelling and the visual storytelling of the show, of making them villains without making them like, say, changelings, or pre-Reformation changelings, I should say.
Yeah.
Okay.
While we're talking about Naysay, real quick, one thing I do appreciate from his like assholeness is kind of how petty he is. Because like if you pay close attention to the Friendship University episode, he freaking populated Flim and Flame School with a bunch of EEA members in order to inflate their numbers so he can give them approval.
That sounds about like a politician.
In one of the initial scenes where it's like showing like the sweep of like the main hall for the Friendship U, you can, if you pause on like the frames as it's going through, you can see the ponies that are in the EEA, and like they're unique character models, so they were put there for a reason. They weren't just like randos filled to fill in backspace. They're actually there on purpose, and you can see them in both the EA scene and the Friendship UC.
And because of that, I would say that the more overt moral is the racism bit, because of the fact that he much more blatantly uses it, because of the fact that he basically beats people over the head with how great ponies are and how dangerous the other races are, which is often rhetoric used by racist individuals.
Yep.
So,
well, it's not though, and like not to get too far into a political conversation, but that is like the cartoonish idea of how a racist acts. You know, that's why it's easy to say that he's a pony supremacist who is racist, but he's not actually representative of a proper racist. You know.
well, we're not looking
so
for
he's like-
the subtlety of it, though. It
My
is a kid's
problem
cartoon.
with him. No, I'm okay. So, my problem with him is that he's not an accurate depiction of one, of a racist character at all. He's just a media idea of a racist. You know, it doesn't. There's not actually much of a connection there. That's why I like the Thorax episode quite a lot more, and I've explained the nuance of it that a child may not be able to pick up on, but I'm sure they'll get it eventually. You know.
Yeah,
but with that guy, I don't think that exists. That nuance doesn't exist. He's just an asshole. Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's
I think,
the other part of the
what-
problem.
I think what we're more looking at is an extreme example rather than a nuanced example.
Yeah.
Because
The-
there are people who do act like that, but they're more
They're few and far between.
They're more on the extreme end, more than anything else.
Sure. So I don't think it's very useful to depict that in a show about friendship, on the discussion of like races and stuff, and you know. So I'm explaining why I don't like him as a character.
They're both kind of realistic examples, but in their own way.
Yeah.
But once again, it is not. But okay.
You also have to remember it is a cartoon, so cartoonish depictions when they're going for specific types of stories are not unusual, and it also depends on which
but that doesn't
writer was
mean
writing.
anything.
I know it
doesn't mean like to make something cartoony isn't like I could also make the argument that the Thorax episode is equally as cartoony in nature. You know, I mean, you don't need to exaggerate things like that to get that across. There's lots of examples of shows that like deal with that. I can think of
what I'm saying is
Transformers movie.
I'm not saying that you need to. I'm saying that's what they do with a lot of the kinds of writing for this type of show.
Sure.
It's not required, but they do it because they think they should, for whatever reason. It may be like a corporate mandate, or it may just be that they just think kids won't get it unless it is blown out
Over
of
the top.
proportion.
Sure, but I am also
it certainly helps that it's just one character that really acts like that.
Yeah.
Because if it were more common, well, we've seen what happens. That's how G5 got made.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, you're not wrong, but that's hilarious.
That is G5.
Oh god, that's hilarious.
G5 racism.
G5 is an entire generation of naysays.
It's not wrong. It really isn't.
Yeah.
I remember I was watching the streamer play like a bunch of random Steam games, and one of I think it was the G5 Maritime Bay Adventure was one of the things he played, and he had like no knowledge of anything. So he just found the actual pony racism in the game with like the whole protests and active discrimination against the others. He just found it really funny out of context. Even with context, it's basically the same thing.
Oh man!
What wasn't that? Didn't that movie just follow the storyline of the movie?
The game, yeah, the game. It
I don't know. I never
basically.
played it.
So I did play it. It basically rehashed the movie plot because it was what was his name? The fucking brother of Hitch.
Sprout,
Sprout? Yeah.
the red one.
Yeah. He
The one
basically
who's not related to Hitch
basically
in any way.
They're
you know,
friends.
It's like,
they're not
they're
brothers.
it
They're not
shows you how
brothers.
much I care about G5.
Right there with you, buddy.
The idea was basically Sprout was trying to find a way to make all of the ponies fight, and it was very ham-fisted. And it was like, didn't we learn this lesson the first time in the movie that was supposed to
Sprout-
literally be within the same week as this game? Timeline-wise?
Sprout is basically to the rest of the G5 ponies what Naysay is to the G4 ponies. He's like
Yeah.
the Naysay to Naysay.
I find it. I really.
He
I find
really
it funny
is.
He's like the more extreme version of Naysay, and Naysay was already extreme.
Yeah, it's like if Mace was like given a position of power and he just decided he wanted to keep it.
He was in a position
like-
of power.
Yeah, both of them were in positions
like
of power.
I'm saying, like no,
Like a
what
higher
he-
position.
What it was is he was like the deputy to the sheriff, and then the sheriff went out of town. He's like, "You're in charge," and he's like, "Okay, I'm gonna
Dictator.
declare war."
Dictator immediately.
Yeah,
You did see a
that's-
unicorn. That was pretty scary.
Oh,
We had to
God.
ramp up
Yeah.
the war economy as soon as that happened, you know?
He was more of a
Increased
threat
military
than
spending.
he was more of a threat than any of the other G5 villains.
We need to build a super weapon to... Oh,
to
God.
take
I
out
find
the
it really-
single
Never mind.
unicorn.
I found.
I'm pulling
I
out.
find. I
Okay,
find it
fine.
really funny considering, like comparing Sprout to Chancellor Naysay, only just because of like how more powerful one of them particularly is.
I don't
and
understand
threatening
what
they
you
look.
mean by that. Like, are you talking about Naysay or Sprout?
Well, no, I'm talking about how like Chancellor Naysay has got these like freaking Doctor Strange powers and looks a lot more threatening. While from what I remember, Scout was just kind of like a whiny mama's boy.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sprout basically got into a position of power, got scared, and like built like weapons of mass destruction out of fear.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Naysay has the amulet, but Sprout has a factory.
Wait, did he have an amulet? I can't remember.
He did, yeah. It was like
That's the
position-
Doctor
It-
Strange thing.
It was able to like
Oh.
make like portals
Yeah,
and things.
He gets the Doctor Strange powers from the amulet. Without it, he can't travel.
It's been a
Yeah,
it's been a long
that's
time
that's
since I
how
saw
he
this
got
episode,
around.
so-
I never
Yeah.
watched
Okay.
that, so... Okay, interesting.
yeah. That's kind of a
It's kind of weird that he never teleported himself, but yeah.
Yeah,
Who
because
said
To
he
each
was
their
smart?
own.
Maybe he used the portal as to like maybe get a look at his surroundings before he just kind of popped in out of nowhere. Since
well.
for all you know,
I do
maybe
want
he
to
could
point out
teleport
that
on top of another individual and squish.
I want to point out that teleportation is kind of portrayed as a high level use of magic. I think Rarity uses it once. And
No, Rarity never uses it.
What was it that she
I
did?
have a vague memory she used it.
Oh, she might. It might have been. In
I remember her teleporting. I think it was herself in Twilight, and being absolutely exhausted towards like the latter seasons. There was
trying
like
to remember.
Okay, so according to this
Maybe.
one Reddit comment, she teleported an outfit onto Twilight, but I don't think she can actually
Yeah.
teleport like.
Yeah, she teleported an
Individual
outfit
people.
onto Twy, but I don't think that she. I don't think she ever teleported a pony.
there was something that she did, some sort of teleportation or some sort of spell that was portrayed as
Okay,
like
this-
being an extreme exertion.
It could have been. It
That
could have been
Reddit post
during
was-
inspiration.
outdated, that Reddit-
manifestation.
that Reddit post was like 9 years ago, so there's a good chance it's outdated.
It,
Yeah,
it could have been during inspiration manifestation where her
It was-
magic was just amped.
the one
No.
that I'm
No,
I'm
it
thinking
wouldn't have
of.
been that episode because during that episode she was possessed by a powerful artifact, and everything she said went with no effort.
Yeah,
The-
that's the artifact doing that at that point.
The one that I'm thinking of, I think, was in season 9.
So was Rarity a villain?
Depends on whether or not you like the comics.
For that one episode,
Yeah,
and
Rarity has been a villain more than once.
maybe a couple of the other Manhattan
You
focused
think
episodes,
when
maybe.
she threw the giant rock at Tyrek?
There was something that she
Here comes
teleported.
Tom.
Because she was exhausted from just doing that.
Wait, did she launch a boulder on Tyrek? I can't
Yeah.
remember. What was that?
It was when Tyrek had Twilight by the wings and was going to eat her magic, and Rarity just threw a fucking chunk of the castle that they just blew off at him.
Oh gosh.
I don't remember this, but I trust you.
Yeah. That sounds like Rarity, alright.
So yeah, definitely a villain. Got it.
You brute! Slam.
I mean,
It's
there
generously
is the
infinite.
time that she ran a sweatshop with her friends, so.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you can find examples of episodes where all of the main 6 are villains in their own way.
Lesson
It-
0.
Yeah.
It is kind of
That's
an
not a- how dare you.
Lesson 0, kinda, yeah.
That's not villainy. That's just
There
that's
was
just not being socially capable. There's different.
I can't remember what it was
Hey,
called, but
girls.
there's that episode where
Girls.
the episode with Wayne
She
Will.
magically charmed all of Ponyville to be obsessed with an object and fighting over it. That might not have been intentional villainy,
she's
but
less-
that was definitely villainy.
She's less of an antagonistic force and more of a. She's making antagonistic actions.
That's the same thing.
It's hard to explain. I know what I'm trying to say, but
He's
I don't got words for it.
antagonizing, but not necessarily an antagonist.
It's not a dedicated antagonist.
Being a
And not all
Discord.
antagonists are, like
She's just an antagonist as like a
She's
side.
being a
side
Discord.
hustle.
like you could say that Tyrek isn't actually like a direct antagonist. He just happens to be making everyone else's worse.
He
Everyone
just
else's
gets
life
kind of
worse.
hungry sometimes.
He just gets hungry.
Just hungry.
You didn't need that magic anyway. Come on, just give him
You're
a
not
little bit.
using it. I need it.
I get on just fine without magic. I think he was doing nothing wrong.
Bro needs to lift more.
He's just trying to get them gains.
In magical games.
Do we have any other particular villains we would like to cover before we call it for the night?
Cherry Guy, of course, the best villain in My Little Pony.
I would. I guess I would rather have Sprout be a villain than any of the other G5 villains, because I think all we've got to choose from is like Allura, Opaline, and maybe sometimes Posey.
I know nothing about 2 of those, and I know the third is very poorly utilized.
I mean,
Well, I've mentioned this before. It's not G5 related, but I did want to mention like what exactly they did with Sombra's like voice or personality, like when he was
What's wrong with that?
reintroduced in the later season. I don't know. Like, there's nothing inherently wrong with it. It's kind of more so a personal preference, but I really liked like the
when they
mystery
made
he had
him
and
like flamboyant.
I
Yeah,
like that
yeah.
they screwed it up. They're just like, no, you thought he was this because he ruled a kingdom. No, he's actually.
I
gay.
liked how I liked how ominous and like threatening he was, and like just his overall like aura and vibe. I was like, this is super dope. And then when they brought him back, I was like, who is this guy?
Well, it's
I
not
was-
super dope though. It's completely meaningless. And then when they bring him
Yeah.
back, yeah, he's kind of a
don't-
weird.
They
I don't
brought him
care. I was
back.
like,
They
I was
brought
like
him back.
15.
They made him gay, and then they killed him twice.
yeah.
That's what
Yeah,
I'm
like-
saying. Like, he was still definitely a force to be reckoned with. He's just, you know, I couldn't
Yeah.
like I couldn't
Yeah.
vibe with it. I couldn't vibe with it.
I kind of.
Your loss.
Yeah,
I-
like Sombra is like a pinata at this point. It's like every time he shows up, he immediately dies, and then he comes back and then dies again. Like how many times has he died?
Maybe he's gotta be bonked in the
It
head
makes
a few
it
more
makes you
times
almost
before he
feel
becomes
bad for him.
ominous.
Honestly, my opinion, they did him dirty in both
Every time.
counts. Because the
Every-
first time, like, he had one word that he said the entire time he was there. Yeah.
Really
And then the
sucked.
second time, like, I liked that they gave him more character, but like he felt more
Yeah,
like
like
a
more.
bumbling buffoon.
Yeah,
Well-
that exactly. Like I like the more character, but he was so freaking like proud of himself and like flamboyant and annoying. I think it was literally Grogar, well, Discord that was Grogar, that freaking sent him away while he was doing his rambling because they just couldn't care less.
Yep.
So just to make a quick little point, I actually really like the decision that they made because like though he was he took over the entirety of the Crystal Empire, that doesn't mean he had to be competent or smart in any way, shape, or form. We don't know how he got to power, or maybe
Right place,
the
right
comics
time.
do. Yeah,
The
something like
comics
that.
the comics do get into that, but it was
Actually, didn't he managed to
he literally
take over the Crystal Empire
literally killed
again
the
in season
previous
9?
princess of the
Didn't
Crystal
he?
Empire.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. And especially
so,
like
like-
his origin story from the comics like made him seem like much more interesting, and he seemed a little insecure. I haven't read the comic in a little while, so I could be wrong. But he was definitely seemed a little bit more kind of like insecure and reserved. So
Yeah.
it just feels like I don't know,
So
it just
he
doesn't
kind of
feel
corrupted
like him.
as time went on, though. Too.
I don't like that. I don't like that story about Sombra. I don't I do like the idea that he's just malicious but very charismatic. And that's how he usually achieves power. And then when he's in power, everyone suffers because he's terrible at it. I personally find that really compelling.
I mean,
Yeah, I totally get that. Again, it's kind of more so just like a personal thing because I really like these specific aspects of him, and a lot of those were just kind of taken away.
I would point out that his solution to like making sure that he stayed in power was, mind controlling everybody within his kingdom. So that makes it
the child.
that makes it make a lot of sense that he wasn't really a good ruler because nobody could like argue with him because they are all mind controlled.
Gee, I
However-
wonder what that might be in reference to.
There was one good
Starlight.
thing he did as a villain when he came back is he imprisoned Flurry Heart with locks and a muzzle.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Mm.
I don't
I was trying
remember
to
that
make
at all.
I was trying to make a Flurry Heart bad joke.
But
What?
I don't think people can say he's really incompetent though, because he like
Yeah.
He's lost every
he
time.
like enslaved all.
that
of
doesn't mean
the-
he's incompetent. That just
he
means
did
the other
manage
people.
to
That means the
enslave
people
entire
challenging him are
Crystal
better.
Empire twice.
Yeah, but all the Crystal Empire had to do was like be vaguely happy, and they still let it happen. I don't
Vaguely
think
happy.
what.
No. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying
okay,
the
okay.
statement
He's good.
itself is funny
He's
because
good
it's
at
right.
gaining a
Thank you.
position, but not very good at keeping it.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, we could agree on that one.
He's basically just didn't think he'd ever get that far, and then when it does happen, he's like, "What? No, what? I don't know what to do.
I didn't think I'd
Bored."
get this
Put
far.
them all in chains.
make him do ring around the rosy like for 1,000 years. Maybe that'll make me happy.
Sorry, yeah, no, this the comment about him making the crystal ponies walk in circles is just because the one shot we see of them in chains, they're not actually doing anything. So I just assumed that's what was up.
With all the mind
So somber.
controls.
What's this?
I
Oh, they're
mean-
doing a little dance for me.
If you think about it, if he's as egotistical as the show wants to show him as, that would be the perfect way to display that because like he's conquered the entirety of the Crystal Empire. Now, basically, and he goes, "Now dance for me." For his entertainment.
Basically, yeah. Basically.
Yeah.
So it makes
I-
perfect sense in that context.
I'm glad I could contribute something to this conversation.
Yeah, me too. Thumbs up.
Thank you.
Sombra definitely walked in the mind control area so that Starlight could run.
No, so I'm gonna knock you down right there. Starlight didn't actually mind control anyone
No, she very clearly
in her
did.
village. No, she took away their cutie marks, but they clearly could still.
No, not in
think
the
for-
village.
Oh,
We're
you
talking
mean-
about
She
the
had a whole episode of
Oh, you mean? Oh, you
What
mean
if
every
you're
little thing
talking
she
about
does?
Starlight
Yeah.
and her cult?
Yeah.
We certainly can.
Well, that and the town. because she did both.
Yeah.
The town
No,
is a
she
cult.
didn't. She didn't.
Yes.
Use magic.
Well, she
to mind
brainwashed
control.
them.
No, she brainwashed them, but she didn't like mind control them. They could still clearly think for
Right, yeah,
themselves.
she just used
They were
normal
just-
mind control.
They were
Yeah.
just in a cult.
Yeah, non-magical mind control.
Wow. Very cool.
It's very surprising we have not brought up Starlight's villainy for the people that really like her. I know she has fans.
Oh yeah.
She had fans after not. Well,
But,
that's right.
yeah, I think her
Honestly?
fan base. I think her fan base definitely took off after
Yeah.
the like what was it season.
I don't know the episode.
I forget which one it was where they did all the time travel shenanigans.
I loved the time
Oh, yeah,
travel
that was
shenanigans.
like her,
That was
like
cool.
It was like after
Starlight's
that.
like Starlight's introduction and reformation was all season 5. Like the time travel stuff was the finale.
Yeah.
So, like I feel like she
yeah.
had a lot of haters in season 6 because like never really asked to be reformed, and like she's not really doing a very good job at it. She's not trying that hard, but like she works towards it, and then eventually like she earns it. But like
I
at
think-
first it's like, why the fuck is Twilight like trusting her so much? Like she hasn't earned this yet.
I think that
Well, that's the thing, actually. They bring up Starlight and her cultiness and everything she did a lot. They don't just like reform her and that's it. They bring that up a lot.
I think that for me, part of the reason I like Starlight is because it points out a flaw with Twilight's thinking. Because remember, she wanted Starlight to find a friend, and she found a friend in Trixie. And then immediately Twilight was like, "You can't have that friend. That friend doesn't count."
You have any friend you want except that one.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it really like kind of hammered home that idea of like giving people second chances, even like when other people that you look up to don't.
Yeah.
I mean, Trixie didn't deserve a second chance. Trixie never did anything wrong, and you know that argument. You've heard that argument before. But Twilight just hates
No,
Trixie because
you're wrong.
Twilight's horrible to Trixie
You're
specifically.
wrong. In the first episode, Trixie was just being a show pony. She got
Yeah, I said she
heckled.
didn't do anything wrong.
So she went along with it. She did
Yeah,
nothing
no,
wrong.
she didn't.
However,
She did nothing wrong.
she came back. She got an evil artifact and came back for revenge.
And
She
imprisoned
definitely
the
did
entire
something
town.
wrong.
Yeah, well, to be fair, she was in a town full of like really mean people who sucked. They deserve to be wiped out. I completely forgot about that.
it's a really
episode, to be
ent-
honest.
It's really
Yeah,
entertaining seeing
that,
people try to justify the
Yeah,
actions
she
of villains.
wasn't really much. She didn't really do much in the first thing, and I could see her being upset. But imprisoning the entire town, especially trying to make Rainbow Dash "quote unquote" writhe in agony.
It was
was-
it was a prank, bro. It was
Yeah,
all for
that-
show.
That
Oh, okay.
particular
It was just okay.
that particular episode is why I believe that Twilight had issues with Trixie, especially since even with the Alicorn amulet, Twilight outstripped Trixie in sheer like magical and like.
No, she didn't.
Well, she did end up.
The end was literally them tricking her by not doing magic and using makeup.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
that is
that's
how that went.
right.
Yeah, like-
I forgot about
They
that.
just tricked her.
Yep.
All I
They
could
tricked
remember
the
was
Trixie.
something
See,
about
scamming was
Twilight
actually
putting.
a good thing all along.
All I could remember was something about Twilight
walked the
pacifying an Ursa Minor. I think it was.
Yeah, that
Oh,
was.
that was the
the
first
original.
one.
That was the first.
That's
the first
not
one.
Trixie's fault. She was just telling a story.
Yeah,
and
and
being
it was
pestered
pretty
by two
Snails
weirdos.
that brought the freaking Ursa Minor in.
Yeah, she was just
Oh, is
trying
that?
to get them to go.
Oh, that was the other episode then. But yeah.
Yeah.
I forgot.
Yeah, that was
they
the- that was
they
the one where
basically
she showed up,
turned.
yeah.
They basically turned her thing against her because she was a magician, not a magic user, really.
I'll be
Yeah.
honest, I frequently forget that they even had that episode with the Alicorn amulet.
I forget the other episode.
Oh yeah.
So
Introduction?
No, the Alicorn amulet is the one you are forgetting. Like, the one you're thinking about is the one where she showed up, she got heckled, she told the story of the Ursa Minor, Sips and Sales went and found it, it wreaked havoc, and Twilight saved the day.
Yeah,
See, I forgot that was
Wait,
its
wasn't
own
the
episode.
Alicorn amulet like corrupting her
Ghostbusters.
brain?
Ghostbusters.
Wasn't that also a thing?
Yeah, the Alicorn amulet corrupts the wearer.
Oh,
I
okay,
mean-
so she's not fully in fault there. Come on.
Yeah.
She's also kind of a bitch, though.
The argument still
Let's be
stands.
honest.
Being a bitch isn't a crime.
I mean, the episode all bottled up was entirely because she's a bitch.
No,
Well,
that's
I
not
see
true.
that-
yeah,
I
that
see
is
that
true.
more
That
of-
is true.
I
But
see
you
that
don't.
more of she's
Could you count Trixie as the antagonist for that episode, since
would
she
say
was the one causing all the anger?
I would say she's more
God.
of
It's
like
not how
an
anger works.
insensitive insensitive friend more than actually calling her a bitch in that. She's just
Yeah,
kind
she's
of
just doing her thing, and fucking
the
Starlight's
difference?
not communicating with her
yeah.
at all. This Starlight's
yeah,
fault.
like that.
That's
That episode is on both of them. Like, sure,
yeah.
Trixie is being kind of an ass, but like she's not being like called out for it.
I
Like she
agree
doesn't
with Nez.
realize she's doing anything.
I do agree
Sorry,
with Nez on that one. It's a both of them thing because neither of them
Yeah.
were communicating.
Yep.
No, why would you communicate with someone who's not communicating back to you? You know,
Exactly.
like they're uncomfortable. That's not your fault.
It could feel like talking to like a brick wall potentially.
Yep.
I've been in that spot before and tried to communicate, and nothing comes out of it sometimes.
Yeah, but something did come out of it when she did communicate,
Finally,
right?
yes.
Trixie
Did-
was like,
Try-
"Fuck, what,
I will
why
s-
didn't you say anything?"
I will say that Starlight was primarily the person at fault. The only
Because-
thing that Trixie did wrong was not thinking about the fact that it's kind of rude the way she was acting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And honestly, like I don't even blame her for that. 'Cause
That's also
think
kind
about
of
think about how she's been living for the past who knows how many years. She was literally traveling on the road by herself. She doesn't really have much practice interacting with others other than like the ponies watching her on the stage, and that's just her talking to herself at them. So honestly, I
called
kind
out.
of
Which being a streamer.
I was gonna say it's also entirely in character for them to be that way because they also both come from very much like Tyrek, Chrysalis, and Cozy Glow. They come from villainous backgrounds, so they have
Trixie.
really quite selfish.
Yeah, you
roots.
lost. I think you lost us on that one, Priscilla. What do you just start over? Like, what are you saying this in
Like-
reference to?
Yeah. Also, you define what selfish roots.
Yeah. Trixie and Starlight were villains originally.
Yeah,
Sure, but for very different
Trixie
reasons.
technically wasn't a villain at first.
yeah,
Well,
she was
wasn't. She was like.
she was an
technically a villain.
antagonist,
Not a
but she
villain.
wasn't a villain.
She was the opposition in the episodes that she existed in. Yeah, there we go. But that's not like her
Well-
roots, quote unquote.
you know? Over like her arc in the story, she got more. She definitely got more villainous. She had like a descent into villainy, as it were.
Yeah.
I mean, arguably so did Starlight.
Before Starlight came along.
I mean, arguably so did Starlight, and Starlight's story actually kind of mirrors, not directly mirrors, but is very similar to Luna's,
Mm-hmm.
where it's a jealousy and isolation that leads to her becoming what she was.
Yep.
That's Celestia's story that she became jealous. I'm not sure I believe that.
What do you mean? Please elaborate.
Oh, if we like trust the show on its word, then of course it's Celestia's word is true. But like, well, put yourself in Luna's position. She just got banned to the moon for 1,000 years. Is she really going to protest against Celestia, especially when she still has the weapon that could put her back on the moon again?
That's actually Celestia doesn't. After Twi gets it.
Okay, yeah, but Twi is just a stooge of Celestia for for a lot of My Little Pony.
No, what I was saying
Celestia
is,
did just get
Also, I think-
blasted with it
I
again,
think
Ian.
I think you misunderstood what I was saying. I was talking about the Nightmare Moon story, like how she becomes Nightmare
Is
Moon.
it
Is
like a comics thing? Or is it
no
where we talking about the intro?
the
Yeah.
the reason that Luna becomes Nightmare Moon is a combination of isolation and jealousy of Celestia, because Celestia isn't acknowledging her, and neither are the people around the two of them, because Luna is
right.
primarily nocturnal.
Yeah.
But isn't the reason that Starlight
The
became
name
a
was we're
villain
on the
because her
same
friend
page. He
dumped
was
her?
saying that like
Yeah,
No,
She-
it wasn't that a
it's-
friend dumped her. It was her friend was actually taken away from her.
it's
Ah.
a story of isolation and jealousy, is what I'm
Yeah.
saying. Because she goes from having a very close friend to that friend is suddenly acknowledged for having magic and taken away from her. Pretty much the same day.
Yep.
yeah.
I don't.
Well, you can't really
personally
compare that
agree
to Trixie,
because
who
of.
is
No, we're comparing it to Starlight.
Luna and Starlight.
Starlight
Luna
and
and Starlight.
Luna.
Well, I think that the reactions are distinctly different. I think a better comparison to Luna would be the beta fish lady. What's her name?
Beta fish
What?
lady?
Lady?
From the
What?
movie. She designed on a beta fish. What's her name? She's
What?
red. She's got a scar. Her horn's broken.
Oh,
Tempest?
Tempest? Tempest.
Tempest?
oh Tempest.
Yeah, Tempest. Yeah.
What do you mean beta fish?
She's bait. Look, come on, look at the design, and then go and look at a picture of a beta fish. Come on.
Okay,
They're
yeah.
notoriously
I-
hostile and territorial.
I mean, I can see it, but I don't know why that's the first thing you jump to.
I'm an artist.
I
I
mean-
I think in images, my dude.
I can see it.
I'm
I
an
think
artist,
it's
and I
more so
don't
the
jump
main-
to seeing her as a
I'm
beta
a- I'm an
fish.
artist, and I don't
Really?
see-
Oh my!
I,
how
I,
could you
I,
not?
I'm
I'm not an
and
artist. So I would have described her if I had to with the broken horn, because that everybody would know that. But like,
That is the most distinct. That is the most distinct feature.
Other than looking like a
Yeah.
fish,
Yeah,
She
Edward
doesn't-
No,
Unicorn,
it doesn't
broken
look
horn.
like a fish.
she looks exactly like that fish in that.
Not like I didn't know beta fish was a thing. I thought you were just calling her a beta and a
What the hell
fish.
was?
okay, so
Oh, yeah.
apparently we are teaching Nez species of fish that exist.
You're a beta pony, Tempest.
You're a beta man.
You're a beta man.
I don't know if I was ready for that.
come up to this point. What the hell, guys?
I is the beta mare Tempest. That's good. I'm pocketing that. I'm taking that.
I was not ready for Beta Tempest tonight. Okay. Oh, okay. But yeah,
Beta Tempest, Giga Chad Spock.
but honestly, yeah, I do kind of see what you're saying with the similarities between her and Luna.
What you were going to say, a beta? I'm sorry, I can't get that image out of my head.
My God. Oh my God. It's because beta fish are really territorial and hostile, not because she's a simp for any power that she
Oh,
serves.
but the stalking. Oh, I want to see that fan art.
No.
Oh, Lord.
I'm-
Give me like 5
The
minutes.
Tempest as a
Oh,
fish.
God.
What have you
I'm
done?
gonna see if that exists. I'm gonna see if that exists.
I've
Would you
just
draw that?
I've merely gestured towards the obvious intent of the design. Why?
Apparently, it
Okay.
was.
So, all I could find so far.
Okay, close enough.
Honestly, I'm not surprised that exists, considering that the Sea Ponies and Tempest were in the same movie.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's all I'm getting. I'm not seeing her as a beta fish, unfortunately.
What were you
How
going to
could
say
you-
about Beta Tempest?
I am getting that one scene where she beat up one of those anthrofish dudes, though.
Why are you thinking about that?
What?
I don't. Why are you
What?
thinking about that?
I'm not thinking about it. It's what I get from Google Images when I search up My Little Pony. Tempest Shadow
Oh, okay.
Fish.
Sorry. I misunderstood what you meant by what I get. All right.
You're good.
Okay.
But
What are you going to say about Beta Tempest?
Oompst?
They were comparing them to Luna.
You-
Like,
Oh,
Oh no,
to Luna.
I was just saying that I think that's a little bit closer because social rejection is a pretty strong thing with both of those. While Starlight, Starlight, in her method to to solving that problem is very different from Luna's, and her reason, like she just became lonely because she couldn't make any more friends, rather than being socially rejected, And when she did make more friends, quote unquote, it was through high control group, methodologies, otherwise known as a cult.
Yeah.
Which is not like Luna even a little bit,
I completely agree. Like, Tempest even has the banishment. Her banishment was self-imposed as opposed to Luna's being, like, imposed on her. Like, yeah, it's like the same kind of arc. Meanwhile, for, like, Starlight, you can easily compare her to Sunset. Most people do. Like, they both have, like, problems, but they both went for power grabs, albeit for different reasons.
We never talked about Sunset
It's
Shimmer
like-
as a villain either,
I'm starting to think that this may need another episode at some point because this is
I feel like this
a very broad topic.
We've only
yeah.
touched on like a small percentage of the actual villains.
And
I think
not
we
even
touched
like
on
all
some
of
like,
the
a lot of
well-known
main
ones.
but even so.
Not even like all of those.
We were this close to mentioning the Storm King and nobody brought him up.
Why would you ever mention him? He's a nothing person.
Well, yeah, like the whole point of the Storm King is they wanted Tempest to be a redeemable villain. They wanted her to be like a good guy by the end. So they needed like a bossy character to tell her to do the things that she does. And that's what the Storm King is.
Yeah.
He's built up
And then he
as such an
betrays her, and then she's a good guy, and then he dies.
He's built up as such an antagonistic force, though.
What I like, my favorite part about the
He
Storm
does-
King is
he
that he
does
has merchandise.
have,
I think that's pretty great.
He does have a lasting effect on the sea ponies. Because Silverstream still has the trauma
Yeah.
from the Storm King.
Is this a comic thing?
No, that's actually
No, this was in the show.
What lies
No,
beneath,
this is
where
this,
the tree is the tree of harmony is testing them.
this is probably going to
Oh.
upset a few people, but I actually don't consider any of the comics canon.
Then
So I don't
Pretty sure
really
that's like the standard.
I don't really have that baggage of
Well,
considering the comics because I take them as non-canon.
it is official that the comics are canon.
I don't care.
Is true.
Some of them.
I would like to be given the source on whether they're canon or not.
I've
but-
got an entire video on the at least the season 10 comics. So if you want, you can go check that out.
I'll need to find
yeah,
it, but
the,
it was
the
both,
actual
we
source
have
that
both
says
Word
whether
of
they're
God
It
and an
has-
in-universe comic on it.
There is a
Does that mean
Because
Transformers
I would
crossover is
have thought if they wanted it to be canon, they would have put some evidence of it in the actual.
We do
No.
get a reference to the comics in the show and vice versa.
I choose to believe that Fallout Equestria is canon.
that's
Yeah,
entirely
I
a
would-
fan
None
thing.
of you can stop me.
I would need to be
Can I
given
be
the
canon? I want to be canon.
the source on that
I don't
to
need-
believe it.
I
but-
don't need an official fucking like you don't like Hasbro. I don't like Hasbro. Why do I have to take their word about this?
I always find that it's safer to assume non-canon until proven canon.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Makes
Because I'm
sense.
not gonna just assume that everything's canon, you know. Like
I
some
do-
things, there are some frequent things in the comics that are clearly not.
So
I feel
it is. I will find it, but it is considered B canon, where it's essentially it is canon unless A canon, which is like the show or other media specifically contradicts it.
Specifically, season 10 though
Which
is
it does
just as
sometimes.
canon as the show. Like
Yes.
it's
Because the
specifically
way,
Season 10
pointed
comics
out.
are A canon,
because
though.
the way that I was the way that I had it regaled to me is the show is canon to the comics, but the comics are not canon to the show. It's a one-way system.
No, it's
No,
not.
that's not accurate. It's the show can contradict the canon of the comics, but the comics cannot contradict the show. The show is the end all be all of the canon, and because of that, if the show decides to retcon something, the comics and in any other extended media can't do anything about it. But if the comics wanted to retcon something, they cannot contradict the show in any way.
Yeah, it's actually this is actually the same exact way the Star Wars canon functions. The movies trump everything, but if the movie doesn't say anything different from extended media is canon.
I'm personally a big fan of the SCP canon, which is to say, non-existent. I think more things should do that.
There's literally multiple canons for SCP.
Yeah, no, that's the point.
I mean, it's better than Warhammer canon. I'll tell you that.
No, that's great. I love that.
Warhammer basically says everything is canon.
Yes, the Tyranids can be either a weird psyop or real, and the fact that we cannot tell is brilliant. Thumbs up.
But I would like a source on that because there are like really interesting ideas in the comics that
So, like I said,
would be nice if they translated into the show, but they never did.
Like I said, I made an entire video because I had an argument in the comments with somebody over this, and I cite sources in that video. So if you want to take a look at that, it's specifically in regards to the season 10 comics because there are
specifically the source that says they are canon unless proven otherwise.
Well, the video that I was doing it over,
I would want.
The video I was doing it over was specifically for the season 10 comics that prove the canon for that. So I don't know if
I'm trying to find it. It's hard to find, but because it was a long while back. But I know we have Word of God, aka Word of the Creator, that the creators of everything that the comics are B canon.
I think that mine might have mentioned of it for the rest of them.
I mean, that could drag out into a whole conversation about
The real
death of
villains
the author,
of My Little Pony.
yeah.
The writers.
I would argue Hasbro, but you know.
There's this whole thing.
How could you dare? How dare you blame Hasbro? They funded everything. How could they be the bad guys?
I am a D&D player. I can blame Hasbro all I want.
I am a forever DM. I can do it even more.
Yeah,
that's a whole different.
But yeah, if you guys want to take a look at what that video, I do actually go over like I believe the guy that I am directly quoting through the video mentions the rest of the comics, but it's primarily in reference to the season 10 ones.
Yeah, the season 10 comics are A canon. The rest of the comics are B canon.
But
speaking of
I don't really pay that much attention to what's said behind the scenes, and there's a whole conversation to be had about.
And there's also the
Word of God versus Death of the Author.
And there's also the end of the comics themselves end with a comic of Spike, like older Chad Spike, having where he's written all the comics, and they were adventures that they actually had with just what's the word, embellished a little bit, aka explaining the conflicts with the show that a few comics have.
Is Chad Spike a villain?
Yeah, I'll find that.
Which Chad Spike? The real Chad Spike, or like the dream Chad Spike?
Well, I don't know which one has the more unappealing design.
I'd say it's
the
the
real
green
one.
Chad Spike. I tried to look
Okay.
up a reference and I got Johnny Bravo Spike.
Honestly, the like a daydream Chad Spike just looked like a Chad, and it's like they weren't trying to make it look good. They were trying to make it look like that's what he sees himself as.
Yeah, I'm trying to. There it is.
And then that's what he
Spike the
becomes.
hero. So these are the two different Chad Spikes.
I think that with as
Horrifying.
off the rails as we have gotten with all of this, I think this is a good time to call it for this episode.
Yeah.
To be
I was
entirely
about to talk about
honest,
Chad Spike.
I don't know.
We
We,
are
we
going-
didn't have. We
we're
didn't
go-
have time to go over the best villain, Sludge.
we're going
No.
to more than likely have another round of episodes about villains, just because we didn't cover a lot of them, and given that I normally keep this to roughly about 2 hours, we're not going to have enough time to do it in one episode. So if you guys are interested in seeing another episode of this, then be sure to like, comment, subscribe, ring the notification bell. Of course, follow on Twitch if you want to follow my gaming shenanigans. I'll probably be dragging at least a couple of these knuckleheads on there with me. For those of you that want to show further support to the channel, there's links in the description. A huge thank you to my priest-tier Patreons, Cameo Shadows, Ice Crystal, and Scarmix. And of course, there's a huge thank you to the subscribers on Twitch and the YouTube membership, I think it is, on YouTube. I can never remember what it's called. Yeah.
Pretty sure it's membership.
Join thing.
Of course,
Click the join button.
any and all contributions of any kind, even if it's just subscribing, liking the video, leaving a comment, I appreciate all of it. It helps me continue doing what I'm doing. Other than that, if I will probably be going live on Twitch here in a little bit, play some Fortnite or something until I decide to head to bed for the night. Until then, tomorrow we will have Lost Memories, Second Chances. Sunday will be the usual Heart of Darkness. And then next week we will be back at it again with Creator Roundup. Until then, everybody have a great evening, and don't forget to drink water.
Hydrate or dihydrate.